ABC, a memorable one as we saw the resurgence of Ginebra in the on ABC, a memorable one as we saw the resurgence of Ginebra in the PBA. Watching all the big crowds coming to the big dome, and we've all been together for close to 5 years, 4 seasons, 9 conferences, and over 1,000 unforgettable games. Coach Jong Uichico, in his 9th PBA season, he's been a 2-time Coach of the Year. He's won 6 championships with San Miguel, and he's about to win another championship with Barangay Ginebra. And Nico, he has to be the maestro of this run of Barangay Ginebra.
Hello everyone and welcome to Gold Diggers, a show where you discuss stories of leadership and motivation, with sports serving as a metaphor dedicated to daily grinders, corporate athletes, and go-getters. I'm your host Carlos Pineda, your resident box-to-box midfielder or point forward transitioning from esports to football and vice versa. In the previous episode, we had a conversation with esteemed Philippine volleyball coach Oliver Almadro, who taught us his tickets in building that excellent mindset, which revolves around discipline and dedication, the belief in oneself, and the importance of exerting effort. And I wouldn't be able to appreciate his championship-filled journey if it weren't for my fellow gold diggers. Let's welcome all of them, Simone, Relly, and Robbie.
Simone here. We hope you're all doing well. And we're almost halfway through December, and it has been a roller coaster year for everyone. So our guest tonight is not an exception to that, and he has an interesting perspective to tell about how he has dealt with the many changes he went through in his career. So Rels, what else do you think our teammates can expect from this episode?
Thanks, Sim. Well, first of all, welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining us again. Happy holidays. And I am very, very excited to dig in right now with one of the winningest coaches in the PBA, and his journey is really an interesting one and very insightful, and we hope that we can learn from that. So stay around and stay tuned. And Rob, please introduce our special guest.
Thanks, Rels. So Christmas is around the corner, and we got an early present in the form of this exciting opportunity to have a conversation with yet another kindred individual as one of the most respected and top basketball coaches in the country, Gilas Pilipinas head coach and gold digger in none other than Coach Jong Uichico. So we hope you stay tuned and get the notebook as we dig into how Coach Jong can teach us a thing or two about how to adapt to change. So back to you, Carlos.
All right, now let's proceed to the main event. Introducing our guest. He is regarded to be one of the most renowned coaches in the Philippine basketball scene, winning 2 PBA Coach of the Year trophies in 2000 and 2007. And he has garnered 9 PBA championships, highlighted by his back-to-back championships from 1999 to 2000 for both the Commissioners and Governors Cup, as well as the 6 trophies he delivered for the San Miguel Beermen. His success gave him that opportunity to carry the Filipino banner in the international stage through his stint as an assistant and recently as a head coach for Gilas Pilipinas. He is also a torchbearer for the next generation through his efforts in developing the country's grassroots program. Without further ado, let's welcome Coach Jong Uichico.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, viewers of Gold Diggers. Good evening, Carlos. Good evening, Robbie. Good evening, Relly. And good evening, Simone. I'm glad to be here and hope I can have the same impact as the other speakers that you had before me. And of course, advance Merry Christmas.
It's a pleasure to have you, Coach Jong, in this episode. I mean, when I mentioned that introduction where I was announcing all your championships, I have to admit, I am like standing in awe right now, just like so many trophies. And that actually means that you could offer us a lot of insightful words of wisdom for our viewers. And speaking of words of wisdom, I mean, we've already been suffering through this pandemic. Everyone is affected through it. So tell us, Coach, what have you been up to lately? Go.
Um, this pandemic, we coaches, not only myself, coaches in general use this pandemic as a learning process in order to have a learning mindset because when face-to-face activities were put on a standstill, the online projects came into play. Lots of webinars came into play. There was more than enough webinars that we could absorb, but we took it as a chance to learn more about the game, learn more about the revolution of the game, wherein we can use all this knowledge later on in terms of the practical aspect. Now it is the theoretical aspect wherein we learn all of this knowledge that you can absorb. And then later on, after the pandemic is all over, you can start experimenting on all this knowledge that you've learned and put it into a practical perspective. That's what we did all these months, and I think all the coaches found something positive in the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I remember some anecdotes, like from Jimmy Alapag. He mentioned that during the pandemic session, he would spend most of his time going online, going to Skype and Zoom meetings for him to discuss with other coaches, for him to learn so many things about the game of basketball to further improve his coaching skills or to further help in developing his players who are also affected by this pandemic. I mean, as you mentioned, every coach is doing it right now. It's actually the current trend in sports where you just go for these online sessions and then all of a sudden you learn something through it, you gain that new knowledge, and then you apply it in your everyday endeavors. And speaking of these online seminars, I mean, based on what I've heard, like the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas has been very productive in conducting these online seminars. So, care to explain what have you been doing for SBP lately, Coach Jong?
Well, when everything came to a standstill, especially as the head of the Coaches Academy of the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, we've been going all over the Philippines, 16 regions, probably 20 provinces in a year, just to share our knowledge, our little bit of knowledge to the grassroots coaches. I've been blessed to be able to attend numerous international clinics, but I'll have to say that it's not very cheap. You've got to invest not only your time, but if you have to invest your own savings of out of pocket expense, and it's not very cheap. So it became my goal to be able to go to the provinces instead of them coming to Manila and spend a certain amount of money. So I brought the term basketball to you, wherein I brought all these coaching clinics to you rather than you go to your basketball clinics. So I turned it the other way around, and it's a little bit of sacrifice, but I had fulfillment. We're probably out of our houses probably twice a month, going to at least 16 provinces all over the country, spending probably 3 to 4 days in that province, and trying to share our little bit of knowledge that we've learned through books, through clinics, and through our experience in sharing our knowledge to the grassroots coaches in all of the provinces all over the Philippines. And we hope that if they learn even just 10% from what we've taught them, that it is or that we think that it will go a long ways in their coaching career and coaching these grassroots players in the provinces. So that's what we've been doing. Now, because of the pandemic, we had to find a way in order to keep our goal or mission active. And that's how we came out with this SBP learning project, wherein we've put in video, instructional, and in text the things that we've been teaching for level one. And we've put it in the Samahan Basketball Facebook page, and everybody is free to take a look. It's kind of not perfect, but because it was done, remember, during the pandemic, without any high-tech machinery, because we were working under certain constraints. But I think we did a pretty good job in relaying the points that we wanted to relay. And hopefully next year we can keep continuing our learning module for all our grassroots coaches all over the province. That's what the SBP has been doing. And not only e-learning, but we also did a women in basketball webinar specifically for women's basketball coaches or basketball coaches that are coaching women. We've had a tournament coaching course again for women basketball coaches. So not only are we concentrated in boys or men's, but we are also concentrated in women in basketball. So that's what we've been doing for the past 8 months that we've been in pandemic.
Oh, wow, Coach Jong. I mean, the fact that you're able to adapt and carry on the mission of what the SBP stands for is certainly commendable at your end. Like, it doesn't matter if there's like a pandemic happening. Like, you have to adapt. Like, you have to show that you still care for the community that you establish. And I can clearly see the commitment that you, together with SBP, has been doing in making sure that basketball or the legacy of Philippine basketball carries on even in such times of crisis. And not only that, you did mention like women empowerment, promoting gender equity, and that's so commendable at your end. So other commendable factors from you, Coach Jong, is your recent assignment as the Gilas Pilipinas head coach. And you're assigned as for the FIBA Asia 2021 qualifiers. Now, may I ask, was this part of your plan? And I'm also curious, how did you get the assignment? And did you really, or how did you prepare for this assignment? Go.
Well, actually, I never thought of being the head coach or being back in Gilas. It just so happened that, I guess, all right, I don't know exactly how it happened, but I just so happened that, I guess, all right, again, we're talking about chance. When the FIBA window 2 first was not going to push you, then was going to push you, then was not going to push you, then was going to push you, it just so happened that the PBA bubble was in activity. They were right smack in the PBA bubble in Clark, and it just so happened that it would coincide with the FIBA window 2 that was going to be done in Bahrain. So, I mean, I get a call if I was interested in joining the FIBA Gilas staff. There was no mention of head coaching. It was just the FIBA Gilas staff, because the staff that were there in the window 1 were not available because they were in the bubble. So of course, why will I say no to the opportunity to represent Gilas and be part of the Gilas coaching staff once again? So I said, sure, I would be glad to. I would be proud. I would be elated to get back to Gilas, even for just a window 2. So that's how it came about. Then days before we left, I was named as Gilas head coach, not knowing that I would be named as Gilas head coach. So I wasn't prepared. I was prepared to be part of the Gilas staff, but I was not prepared to become head coach because becoming head coach has a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, and that's a different story. Becoming a staff is different from becoming a head coach. But again, since the challenge or the opportunity arises, again, you say yes and try to fast track your preparation in terms of becoming the Gilas head coach. And fortunately, we've had great players. You have Coach Tab Baldwin with you, and you have able assistants with you, and things worked out the way worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and Coach, I can clearly see from your story that you have this concept of learning to embrace the changes that's happening around you. And speaking of that topic, my fellow gold digger will be discussing that furthermore with Coach Jong Uichico. So, Simone, are you ready to discuss with Coach Jong? The floor is yours. Take it away.
Thanks, Carlos. Hi, Coach.
Hi,
Welcome to the
Simone.
show. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thank
So,
you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
hey, it's very interesting hearing all these things because you had many different roles in how many years, going from coaching from in Zobel, and then your stint also coaching in the professional league, and then now you ended up in Gilas, and then your work with the SBP also. So that's a lot of different roles and responsibilities. But I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise given you're someone who's been in the industry for so long. But what makes it interesting is actually the fact that you have plans to coach as a profession, and that it's by chance that you ended up where you are. So why did you choose to accept the challenge and even stay as long as you have?
Tell you frankly, this is the best thing I know. Basketball is what I know. It's the best thing I know. I don't know anything else. I mean, if you give me math, I'm not gonna pass. You give me science, I'm not gonna pass. But if you give me basketball, I've got a chance to pass. So since this is my life, basketball is my life. I can't make it fail. I can't make it fail. I have to make this as a success, and so I will move mountains for me to just be able to give myself a shot at success. And because if I do fail in this endeavor, I have no I have no other place to go to. So you can say this is probably make or break. My back is against the wall every single game, every single practice. My feeling is my back is against the wall because, as the saying of coaches are, you're only as good as your last game. So you have to be really consistent winners if you want to really be a successful basketball coach. Winner, not only winning, but only winning in the sense that you are improving lives of players in your basketball environment.
You mentioned before when you just started, when you just got in, especially coaching in the professional league. There's something that Coach Ron told you in terms of coming in. What was it? What was that question that he asked you?
Well, when I told him that I wanted to try coaching, that was before I went into high school coaching. Um he said just a question: are you willing to spend the time? And not knowing what time meant, I said yes. Of course I'm willing to spend the time, not knowing that time was meant like 18 hours a day, because it's not only the time. What he meant was, eventually I find out, not only what only did he mean was 2 hours of practice or 3 hours of practice and then you're done. No, it's 2 hours to 3 hours of practice, another 2 hours probably to analyze, or to analyze your team, what its strengths or weaknesses are, another probably 2 hours of scouting your opponent, another probably 1 or 2 hours of getting to know your players outside of the basketball court. If you sum it all up, it's probably easily 10 to 15 hours a day of basketball. And your only rest time probably is your next 8 hours of going to sleep. And then the next day, you do the same thing again. So basketball really is a full-time job. And if you're not willing to spend the time, there are other coaches that are willing to spend the time. And if these coaches are willing to spend the time and you are not, then these coaches will overtake you and become more successful than you are, and you're just bound to fail, because if you're thinking of basketball of coaching for coaching for that you will get out of your job, then that's a wrong reason why you get into coaching. All right, so that's why I advise all coaches: are you willing to spend the time if you want to become not only a basketball coach but a coach for that matter?
So that's also really interesting, Coach. I mean, that's a lot of your time that you really have to commit if you're in that profession. And you mentioned earlier how you choose to stay because it's something that you're really good at. But at the same time, what else about putting in all those hours appeals to you? What about being a basketball coach especially appeals to you?
Well, because one thing is, you mentioned the right word, is commitment. Your commitment to uh, helping your basketball players become better persons, helping your basketball players to become the best player that they can be, helping your basketball players or your assistant coaches to become, because they look at you as a mentor, to become the best coach that they can be. Because as a basketball coach, you've got a great influence on your basketball players, whether they are professionals or especially the young ones. Coaches don't know how much impact what you say can affect the future of your players, especially when you are teaching the grade schools or the high schools. You can build their confidence, or you can discourage them altogether. So coaches influence are like fathers, even more than fathers. They're like mentors, they're like gurus, they're like masters. So we as basketball coaches have to keep that in mind, that we are a relevant, impactful person in the lives of basketball players. Imagine how we can be influencers in this basketball player's career. Imagine the impact that we will have in them. That's why it kept me in the game, that I love so much, because I know that I can be. Hindi pa uso yung influencer nun, influencer na ang basketball coaches. It's true. It just never occurred to us that we were influencers. We use the word, we have impact on this player's basketball career. Now it came about influencers, and coaches are great influencers in those basketball careers of players.
Yeah, as a coach, really, there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders because you have that influence over the people you're working with. And of course, I mean, in the how many years you've been working in the industry, you've experienced having to move from team to team and from one role to another, and even going from head coach to assistant coach at one point. So how was it like going through those changes for you?
Right. I can just keep on going on how many changes that I've gone through. It's good if it's from head coach to head coach, but sometimes, as you said, it's head coach to assistant coach. How can your pride accept that, diba? How can your pride accept, I'm a head coach, how can I get to assistant coach? But personally, I don't bother with titles. You can have the head coach's job. I can have the assistant coach's title. I'm not insecure. It's a job. Let's just think of it as a job, and be thankful that you still do have a job. But the responsibility doesn't mean that it's lesser. You have the same responsibility of teaching, helping your head coach, helping the players. It's all the same. The title is different because uh, the head coach makes the final decision. That's the only difference. But for me, I would rather not have the final decision, wherein the final decision is the right or wrong, while you still keep on helping in your own capacity. So I had to lower my ego in terms of not having the title. Sorry, I can't eat pride. I can't eat ego. But having a job puts food on the table on the practical end. But at the end of the day, I'm always thankful and grateful that I still do have a job and I can still be relevant in terms of basketball, which is a blessing that we can do something that you love and get paid for. Diba? Parang, how many people can say that you are doing something that you love so much, that you enjoy doing and getting paid at the same time? I don't think I don't think a lot of people can say that, and I can say that. People would probably exchange lives so that they can be in my shoes, being in Gilas, being in the PBA, and here you are, it's there. So why complain? Why complain? Why complain? Just be grateful and thankful and be blessed.
Yeah, so you accepted the challenge and embraced the change, given that you have the fulfillment of bringing the team towards its goal. But other than that, coach, I just want to get to know more about your mindset when it comes to dealing with these changes. What do you tell yourself also, other than what you've mentioned so far?
When you're a basketball coach, there is a saying that says coaches are hired to get fired. So it might not be today, but it can be tomorrow. Parang you're just waiting for that day that you'll get fired. And that mindset, that being ready so that you can prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually when that day comes. I'm not saying that why are you thinking negative? No, we're not thinking negative. We are thinking the realistic way that sooner or later you will get fired. If it doesn't come, thank you. But if it comes, then you are ready. So your mindset is very important so that you don't think that after being fired, it is the end of the world. Because as a basketball coach, kailangan you should be embracing that change. Whether that embracing that change is a promotion or a lateral movement or a downsize movement. But it doesn't matter. The change will come. And you have to be mentally ready for that change to come. You have to be emotionally ready for that change to come and spiritually ready for that change to come. And when it comes, maybe you might feel good or bad a few days, but embrace it so that you can move on. If you do not embrace it and resist it, then you cannot move on. Therefore, if you cannot move on, you will be dwelling on the past. Do not dwell on the past, maybe 1 or 2 days. After 1 or 2 days, get over with. That's life. Move forward and do chapter in life. I've had so many chapters in life that I can write a book already. All right, there.
I love that so much, coach. Specifically embracing the change, because change is inevitable and you have to do what you can to prepare for it. And because, of course, once change comes also, up to you how to deal with it. But the best way is, accepting it so that you can move forward. So, but you mentioned that you're the type of person who goes with the flow. And it seems you're someone who's very open to change. And even if it's something that can be pretty difficult to do, you're still up for the challenge. But each role comes with its own pressures and responsibilities. So does it ever feel like it's too much? Or did you ever ask yourself, why am I doing this?
Sure. Even especially especially when things aren't going well. Especially when things aren't going well, you ask yourself, is this all worth it? But that's why when you come into not only coaching, any endeavor for that matter, you have to ask yourself, is there a deeper meaning why you are doing this? We're not businessmen. Like we're not businessmen that, oh, it's not making money, let's go to the next. We can't do that because this is our career. Whether things are going well or not, we have to remain with the course. We've got to keep the course, just like medyo lilihis tayo ng konti, pero the same goal, we are still going towards the same goal. But we just shift our direction a little bit. So we're not like businessmen, like if this project is not making money, let's close it and move to another project. It's not the way we work. We have a goal to, like gold diggers. We have a goal to dig. We need to get there. We need to get there. But sometimes getting there is difficult. So we've got to find another way to get there. That's how coaches are. So sometimes it's not going our way, but we've got to keep the course. And that is why we ask ourselves, how deep do we want this? How bad do we really want this? Because it's not going to be, it's easy to say, yes, I want this because things are going well. But what happens when things aren't going well? Are we still going to stick to it? And that's why our whys are deeper than the other person's whys. And that's what's going to keep you going in your adversity, especially in times of adversity. In good times, we're all together. Thank you. Let's all have fun because we're winning. But when we are losing, are we going to stay together? And that's what coaches deal with every time. We fight through adversity all the time. That's why when we fight through adversity, we can adapt easily because we are born, not born, I can't say born, we are learned and accustomed and given that mindset to be that way and not give up.
Adversity seems to be a common, well, you can't really also avoid adversity, but it's a common theme amongst our past guests as well, and how it's brought people together. But coach, personally for you, in terms of during those tough days and dealing with the stress and the pressure of your different roles, what are the specific things that you actually do to deal with those?
I'm not religious, but I pray. I have faith that I have coping mechanisms. Like everything has a reason. So don't think that it's the end of the world. Yes, it feels like it is the end of the world now, but there's always a reason for something. You might not find it today, but you'll find it later on. So it keeps your faith going. Malaking bagay yung it keeps your faith going. Parang you still feel that there is some good in the world when things aren't going well. And of course, your family is a coping mechanism. Your mentor is a coping mechanism. There are a lot of coping mechanisms there are very few coping mechanisms that I use just to keep up with all this adversity and pressure and stress. And that's one is family, one is prayer, and one is everything has a reason. It's like, let me give an example. The first time I got fired was in college. I was head coach of LaSalle for 2 years, went to the finals twice, got fired, but won 6 PBA championships after that. So hindsight is, that's good I got fired, because if I did get fired, I won't win 6 PBA championships. Parang ganon. So it keeps you. So why you got fired probably is maybe because they want you to head coach. So something positive, something came up about you being fired from LaSalle. So But again, being fired is just part of the job. You just have to be ready for those things.
That shows, other than your resiliency, coach, what your decision to move forward from that experience definitely put you where you are now. And so regarding, and you mentioned earlier also, one of the things that has helped you deal with those tough days was also having a mentor. But before, and later we're going to be talking about that. But before that, also in terms of the preparation, Robbie will be talking about that. So Robbie, I'm going to hand you over to Robbie now. Thank you for that, coach. Robbie, are you there?
Thank you, Sim and Coach Jong. I actually already filled out a couple of pages of notes. So allow me to share what I've liked from the discussion so far with you, Coach. So first of all, I like what you said about embracing change and moving forward, because actually that's one of the most important rules of crisis management. Secondly, I like what you shared on the value of preparation. So being ready even before you're called on for the task. And if you're not, doing the work that you can that you can do to keep you competitive. And also, I like your point on keeping the course, especially in times of adversity, and finally finding coping mechanisms to help with pressure, like family and prayer. So, in pre-discussion, Coach, I want to share this because this very entertaining and revealing. When you mentioned that in your coaching job, the high expectations equals stress and pressure, and what alleviates it is winning, and what compounds it is losing. So I like that. So how did you manage, Coach, to pull through all of those role changes which had high pressure?
I think I prepared myself mentally, emotionally, again, and spiritually for any change that could happen in the course of my career. Because if you think everything will last, then you're not preparing yourself for any eventuality. It's just like coaches. If you think everything will work out well, then you are not going to be prepared just in case something doesn't work out well. Uh, I don't know about other coaches, but I always prepare myself for any any eventuality that does not go your way, because you want to cover as many bases as you can. Not saying that you can cover all bases, but probably most bases that will most likely happen. So one of those bases as a basketball coach that most likely will happen is what? Probably get fired. Probably get fired or probably lose a game. So you have to be ready to lose a game. If you're a 700 team, for example, or you win 70% of your games out of 100%, that means 30% of the time you are sad. So if you are not ready for 30% of the time, then maybe you might be feeling down for 30% of the time, but you have to be ready for that and prepare yourself that 30% of the time you you will experience some disappointment in your coaching career. And changes and being fired is part of that eventuality. So that's how I get myself ready. I know it's a negative thought, but it's a realistic thought. I don't call it a negative thought. I'd rather call it a realistic thought that it could happen. But if it doesn't happen, then thank you, Lord. It doesn't happen, right? But how many coaches have been there for such a period of time? You can only count maybe Greg Popovich. I don't know about football, but Greg Popovich has been there for a long time, and a few other coaches, but you can count with your fingers probably.
I love that, Coach. No, so it actually leads to my next question on the importance you put and the emphasis you put on the value of preparation. In our pre-discussion, you mentioned how you love the book, The Art of War. So can you share with us something about that one and what your coaching objectives and priorities are?
Well, kasi I know you have to know your team. And that's given already, diba? I know you should know the strengths and the weaknesses of your team, how many points here, what makes your players tick, the personalities of your player, the personalities of your team, what they can give you day in and day out. That's already, you should know that. But those things are presented in front of you every single day. It's presented in front of you every single day. 2 to 3 hours every day that's in front of you. So I think you should have access to that. But what about your opponent? It is not presented to you every day. It's presented to you only in the games. So therefore, you should know as much as you can about your team as much as about your opponent. If you know your opponent's strengths and weaknesses, and you know your team's strengths and weaknesses, isn't that a big advantage of you because you know how to take advantage of your opponent's weaknesses and you know how to counteract their strengths? So that is my way of preparation. Yes, there are probably some coaches that think that I should concentrate only on how my team plays. But what happens if the other team is much more talented than you? So how can you counter that or counteract the talent, the more talent that they have? In my opinion, it is through scouting, and you find their weaknesses because you know they are such a talented bunch, and then you know their strengths and you should know. And I think the most important is you should know their weaknesses so you can pounce on their weaknesses. That's what I learned from the art of war.
Thanks, Coach. So what I love about what you said was two things. Basically, what you're saying is the two things that you value is knowing yourself, and you do this beforehand. And the second thing is knowing the competition. And you mentioned that putting the effort and hard work to prepare for the competition and take action actually is the one that delivers you the results. So I love that. So what about how do you handle motivation and development of your players, Coach?
Motivation probably is very situational. I don't want to think about I don't want to think about what things to say to motivate them. I'd rather feel what to say to motivate them because if I am motivated with what I am going to say because I feel it from the bottom of my heart, then I think they will be motivated because they can see my sincerity in what I am saying. And that goes with team talks and individual talks, where they can see the sincerity that you are concerned with their well-being, you are concerned with the success of every one of them and the team, and you also care for them. Rather than just be concerned about winning and losing, there is some authenticity in the way you deal with them. So for me, that is part of motivation when when you are sincere with them and they see their sincerity in you and they will play for you. One motivation also is your preparation. Again, I keep on harping on preparation because I think if you are prepared coming into a game, then I don't see any reason why you should not be confident and motivated that you can win today's game and the championship for that matter.
Gotcha. Ganda nun, Coach. So what I like from what you said is like the value of preparation pa din. But more importantly, you mentioned that you take effort to feel rather than to ask about how your players are doing, which shows me a couple of things. No, so empathy and sincerity, which leads to authenticity and trust, which is something that we see as when you coach on the sidelines, we see that's very evident on the way you handle your teams. So my last question to you, Coach, is what drives you? Why are you so passionate?
Because you love the game. Because you love the game. Win or lose, you love the game. Win a championship, lose a championship, you love the game. Because passion for me is even in good or in bad times, you love the game. Some people love the game only during good times, but they do not love the game during bad times. And a lot of sacrifice. Passion is sacrifice yan eh. passion is just not good time. Passion is sacrifice, just like the passion of Christ, where He sacrificed for us. And that is called His passion. His passion is sacrificing for us. It's the same with basketball, coach. It is a sacrifice. Why? Because we go through so many hardships in life. We sacrifice so many things just because for the love of the sport. Sorry, why Jesus Christ? Because He sacrificed also for the love for us. Parang ganun yung analogy lang doon. Ha? Pero wag naman tayo mamatay para sa basketball. Pero the sacrifice that we will enter into for the love of basketball, dapat ganun din. And that's why our passion will bring us through, and our sacrifice and love for the game will bring us through.
Love that. Definitely, we see that in you, coach. No, the passion, even sharing as much time as you can with people in online in programs like this to share what you know about the game, bring the game forward. So I love that. So another thing, coach, is that aside from the passion that you exude, no, it's also the humility that you always exude, and that you always mention that you got to where you are by chance or by luck. But I, for one, coach, I've always believed that luck favors the prepared. And we've seen that in how you value preparation in your life, no? So surely, we're very confident that with all your hard work and the effort that you've given so far, coach, you really deserve what you've accomplished. So thanks for the life lessons, coach. I turn you over to Relly. Relly?
Thanks, Robbie.
Hi, Coach. Just want to say that I'm really learning a lot here, and in terms of where you are, your stature, no, it's really, like a role model, diba? Really for the love of the game, regardless of position, you'll take it because you just love the game, no? So, it's a big plus and a big motivation for all other coaches who want to aspire to be like you, diba? And well, before I go to the question, I just wanna, I hope that your brother Jake Uichico is watching. Jake is for people who don't know, is one of the winningest or long-term volleyball coaches, no, in what's this, and really the sports mindedness of the Uichico clan is just really there, and I hope he's watching, and this is an opportunity, an honor to actually ask you some questions, no? So, Coach, your journey to becoming one of the winningest coaches in the PBA, with let's say with San Miguel, diba? Like 9 in total, but 6 with San Miguel. Couldn't have been possible if it weren't for the mentorship of Coach Ron Jacobs. Of course, we all know that. I've seen it. I've seen it on TV. I've watched in the stadium that Coach Ron was always there, to guide you. And this student-teacher relationship that has in fact gone beyond just basketball. There's a sort of friendship right there. What is it like, having Coach Ron as a mentor? If we put aside the whole technical part of the game, what were the other most valuable things that you picked up from him?
Well, I think it's his relationship with his players. That's number one, really, because how can you play? How do I explain this? Parang he made you want to play for him, not just play the game and follow his instruction. No, you parang you wanted to give him the extra effort just to try to win the game. And he made us do that, not necessarily because he practiced 3 hours or 4 hours a day, but he made us feel that we wanted to give that extra, even if we did not have to. It's because he really went out of his way just to build a certain relationship with us. A little hi, hello, how are you? Parang, you don't have to, it's like, why did he do that? Why did he ask about my parents? Or why did he ask about what was happening here? How did he know that? Parang ganon. So, in our feeling, he he went out of his way to find out what was happening, and not just within the white lines. So there's something more to it than just within the white lines. And that made us feel that unconsciously that we'll give you, if you are 100% for us, we will give you 100% also. Because you are asking us 100%, we expect 100% from you. But we feel that you are giving us 100%, we will give you 100%. Remember, coaches will ask you, just give me your 100%. But players are also expecting 100% from you. When I need your help, not necessarily in the basketball court, I need you to be there so that I can feel that I can give you 100%. So yun si Coach Ron, he gives you 100% not only in the basketball court, but also outside of the basketball court, which is so important in building a relationship. And that's what he really taught me. It's not only within the white lines that we build chemistry. It is also a relationship. It is outside of the white lines.
And it's good you mentioned that, because even the players themselves, I think I read an article that they really spoke highly of Coach Ron. Diba? I mean, it's really on and off the court, really establishing that bond. And yeah, it's true. I mean, if you're able to establish that personal kind of relationship, diba, off the court, the emotional tie is there for you to actually give your best and make sure you don't let him down. You know?
Exactly.
So that's great. I like that. So really, on and off the court, but really off the court is really more important. So, Coach, let's talk about your coaching style. It's very unique. Your coaching style is very unique to you. You're calm, collected, as compared to other coaches. If I could recall, let's say Coach Ron, Coach Norman, the style, the way they conduct themselves on the court is different. Fierce competitors. But with you get things done in your own style, very simple, and you know that there's a lot of heart into it, diba? I mean, a lot of like I say, for love of the game, diba? Parang, let's say, some coaches want to be like a Bobby Knight, diba? Fiery, or Phil Jackson, like all about Zen, diba? Or Pat Riley talking about the cumulative and assist, diba? So, but with regards to you, under that mentorship, what was your objective? Is it in the end to be like them or to be your own?
Well, eventually naman, syempre, being a young coach, you want to emulate somebody. That's normal eh. Kung sino yung sikat na coach doon, you try to emulate that certain sikat coach. During those times, it was, if I'm not mistaken, Bobby Knight was, so you try to emulate him, more on the big khaki, ganon, big guy, diba? So you try to emulate him and very maboka, but as you mature, you get to learn that you should be able to just coach your personality so that you are in a flow when you are coaching, diba? And the things that you say and the way that you act comes out in the right manner. Because if you do not coach your personality, the things that you say and the way you act will not come out the right way. That's my opinion, no? Not the right way, and it will really give a bad taste. You're being watched in public, and you will give a bad taste in public. So I just decided to just and naturally, I just had naturally my coaching personality or persona just came out. It was just that I did that. It just came about. It's just like that. I don't know why it just came about, and then that's it. I didn't have to impersonate anybody. It just came out naturally, and then just people just got onto it. That I was just a quiet. Of course, you see some antics, but not necessarily for 48 minutes. You see a lot of antics. It's just most of the time you see me just watching and having a calm demeanor. And that's just my personality kasi. I think it worked out. It worked out well, naman. Diba? I think so. In fact, a lot of players say I'm too good, but it's just me. So, and I think it worked out for the better, naman.
I agree. I agree. I mean, the principles are there. You've learned all the philosophies and everything, but you have to stay true to yourself, diba? On what your personality really is. You can't be like a fiery coach if you're not, diba?
True.
So, but there's just certain ways on how you approach it, and it has worked wonders for you. And we've all noticed that. So it's really a great thing. So my last.
There's no one right way. There are many right ways. Just
That's
as
right.
long as it works for you, then so be it. I mean, mine is the right way. There are other coaches that are the right way, but what is successful for you, then that's what you go with.
I mean, what's important is you get the job done, right? I mean,
Right.
that's all there is to it. So my last question, Coach, being the head of SPP, what is your advice to all the coaches out there seeking mentorship or looking to be a mentor themselves?
Well, find somebody. I mean, that's what coaches are there for, to help. It's like, yes, you are a success, but what happens to your succession? What happens next? Diba? Ikaw, success ka. For example, me, you know, how long will you do this? Who will your successor be? Just like I'm sorry, I didn't make you kwento. Just like Coach Ron, he was a success, but who will be his successor, or where will he transfer his knowledge to? Sino, di ba? And I'm blessed that he chose me, because it's a choice also of the mentor to willing to spend the time. So, right, I really advise them to have a mentor. There are a lot of coaches that will be more than willing to mentor you, to teach you, to guide you through your coaching career. Marami dyan, marami dyan. I don't see why they should say no, because it's going to be your legacy, if you can call it that big legacy, na naturuan mo yung isang coach that hopefully becomes successful, or maraming natulungan na bata. That's your legacy already.
Thanks, Coach. I agree with that. I think for aspiring coaches, they just have to be, how do we call it? Be a sponge, right? Being able to absorb and learn from different coaches, and eventually, create your own destiny, your own coaching style.
That's how I learned. Just absorb, and then later on, you'll know what not and what to use depending on your situation.
That's great, Coach. That's very insightful, and I hope the other coaches that are listening in right now have actually learned from this. So thanks, Coach. I will now turn you over to Carlos for you.
Thanks, Relly.
Thank you so much, Relly. I mean, Coach Jong, given your life story and given your ability to adapt to the changes that are happening to you, and no matter what the situation is, whether it's a global pandemic, whether it's a sudden shift in the job. So maybe we could learn some tips from you. So let me ask you this question, Coach Jong. Like, if you have any tips for our fellow gold diggers, or to any aspiring leader who's struggling to adapt to the changes, what are these words of wisdom, or what are your 3 tips to our viewers
Well,
now? Go.
First of all, is really to accept it. That's number one. You have to accept that change is coming, or change is there, or change happened yesterday. You have to admit it. That's first. If you don't admit it, then how can you see objectively what's happening in front of you? First, accept it. And once you accept it, everything else will fall into place. Then you can adapt, then you can reassess your direction, then you can reconfigure, reassess, reconfigure, readjust, and then decide from there. After those adjustments, then decide what direction to take. But it's not easy, but it begins with accepting it first. Those are the tips that I can. Of course, patience is always there. Trying to by the tide, it's like a tide. Just go with the flow and go with the tide while we are in a pandemic. So just going with the flow. Diba? Go with the flow and then find some other ways. So that's my way of coping.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it from Coach Jong Uichico. I mean, he mentioned that embracing the change is one of the most important things that you have to consider. But he did mention in his previous discussion the other important tips as well, putting in that effort and then having that mentor in life. All right. So, Coach Jong, are you ready for our next segment, which is none other than Crunch Time? So, Coach Jong, as well as
All
our
right.
viewers,
I'm ready.
you're ready. I like that attitude. Okay. I mean, that's called adapting to change. That's a perfect example right there. All right. So, what are the rules of Crunch Time? Well, it's simple. We're going to be asking you some basic questions. You're going to be giving us some quick responses. No need for explanation unless if you want to go deep. All right. So, Coach Jong, obviously you're ready. So let's just begin in a 3, 2, 1. And first question, playing or coaching?
Playing.
Playing. Okay. All right. Next, amateur or professional level?
Professional.
Professional. All right. Next, who's the toughest opponent that you've ever faced?
Coaching or playing?
Any.
Whew. My wife, because I cannot beat her.
I like that answer. All right.
Great.
Right. Okay. Next, using whiteboard markers or magnets?
Whiteboard marker.
Whiteboard markers. I see. Because when magnets all of a sudden fall off, everyone gets lost.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Next, man to man or zone defense?
Man to man.
Man to man. Okay. Next, beyond the arc or inside the paint?
Old school says inside the paint. New school says beyond the arc. So
So both. I see. All right.
it's hard to, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. That shows your adaptability. Okay. That confirms it furthermore. All right. Next, fadeaway jump shot or a dunk?
Dunk.
Dunk. All right. Understandable. Next, crossover dribble or a sham god dribble?
Crossover.
Crossover. Sticking to the basics. Huh? All right. Okay. Next, long shorts or short shorts?
Ooh. I think we had more. I think we had more people watching when we had short shorts.
Okay. So you prefer short shorts then? Because
Of course.
I see. Yeah. Sticking to the old school. All right. Next, favorite all-time PBA player?
I'd say. There are many, but I'd say. I'd say Danny Florencio.
Danny Florencio. Oh, I see. Interesting choice right there. All right. Next question. Robert Jaworski or Ramon Fernandez?
Ooh, you're putting me on a spot, huh? No comment.
No comment. Oh, okay. Playing safe right there. Okay. I see. I understand. Next. Here. San Miguel Beermen or Barangay Ginebra Kings?
Oh, both of them are close to my heart. So I have to say both.
Both. Okay. All right. Okay. I understand, of course. You've coached both of these teams. All right.
Right.
Next. Favorite coach or your personal idol?
Of course, Ron Jacobs is my favorite coach because I've learned everything from him. Yeah. In the NBA, I follow Greg Popovich because even if their budget in terms of the NBA budget is not that high, he seems to be able to make his teams competitive every single conference or season. Because of their budget, it's not very big, but he seems to be doing very well consistently. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I can clearly see that with the Spurs, like even in those championship years that everyone expects them to crash out, they managed to pull through even with limited budget, and they even managed to reach the playoffs even with a depleted squad. All right, Well, you did mention your favorite coach is Ron Jacobs, so I wouldn't ask you the next question. So now let's go to other parts of your life, okay? Your favorite food?
I like Filipino food, really. Yeah, any Filipino food.
Filipino
That's
food in
my
general.
yes.
All right. Okay, next. Favorite pastime?
I like watching movies. I like going out of town. Like now, I'm in Tagaytay. I'm out of town.
I see. And speaking of movies, what's your favorite movie?
I like action movies. I like movies that entertain me, not scary. That's why I don't watch horror movies because it doesn't entertain me. It makes me close my eyes. So what's the use of watching a movie if you would just close your eyes? So, I watch action movies.
Okay, so that kind of makes us the opposite because I prefer the latter over the former. Okay, next.
Just as long as your eyes are open, it's fine.
All right. Okay. Speaking of movies, what would be your favorite sports film?
Oh, my favorite sports film is Miracle on Ice, the old one and the new one.
Okay.
Yes, by what's his name? The original one was by Kurt
Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell. Kurt
Yeah,
Russell.
yeah, good Russell. Yeah.
Did you know that as a secret trivia that I made my championship teams watch that before the semifinals or championship game? Yeah, just for motivational.
Wow. I mean, to be honest, there were some inspirational moments, like
Sure.
when he taught the entire team, don't think about what's written on the back on your jersey, but think about
Sure.
the bigger scope. So yeah, that's it.
Right, and there are other films that I made them watch also. Sometimes you have Balal, so I make them watch inspirational, but mostly basketball. Mostly not basketball. True to life stories of sports. Yes.
Wow. I mean, of course, that's a good way to pump everyone up inside the locker room. All right, next. Favorite Pampagana music?
Oh, old school, 80s. Yeah. 80s
80s.
music. Yeah, 80s music, old school, like Snoop Dogg or
Snoop
no, not Snoop
Dogg.
Dogg. No, not Snoop Dogg. No, not Snoop Dogg. No, the 80s, 80s.
80s in general. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Next. Teaching or learning?
Of course, you'd rather learn so that you can teach better. Yeah, you'd rather learn so you can teach better. Yeah. So learning.
Learning. Okay. Next. Last question. Your favorite quote?
Quote?
Yeah, quote.
Oh, wow. That's a surprise. Huh? I have no idea. There's so many quotes I did already. I'm just gonna, by John Wooden, preparing for fail is failing to prepare. Sorry, wait, that's wrong. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. There, got it.
There, you got it. You nailed it right there. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that ends crunch time, and we're going to wrap things up with our final messages to our audiences. So, Simone, Relly, and Robbie, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Hey guys, once again, thank you for being with us tonight. I hope you learned a lot from Coach Jong Uichico, and I know we learned a lot. And this is something really for the books. And do catch us next week before we take a break for the Christmas break, where we have UST Enderon and ICA head coach Heidi Ong. So do join us, and thank you again. Sim?
Thanks, Relly. So many insights in this episode, and thank you so much, Coach Jong, for being game to share and dig with us tonight. And it's an honor to have you here. We wish you good health and all the best in your endeavors. And now to our teammates, thanks again for joining us today. We hope you could share with us on Facebook your thoughts and what you learned from this episode and tag the Gold Diggers PH. Or you could simply share your posts or comment on our video uploads on Facebook and YouTube. We'd really love to hear from you guys. And Thank you also to everyone who has followed us on our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't liked or followed us, we hope you can click that button and continue to dig with us. As the year's about to end, we're also ending the Gold Diggers PH first season. So catch this season's last episode next Saturday featuring Coach Heidi Ong, an important figure in pushing forward women's basketball and I dare say women's sports in the Philippines. So got any questions for Coach Heidi? Feel free to message us on our Facebook page. Happy holidays and see you next time, teammates. RDV?
So, Coach Jong, your story is definitely a tale of constant adaptation, revision, and change. And we thank you so much for the time, wisdom, and experience that you shared with us and the rest of our listeners. We definitely learned a lot from your backstory and the lessons you learned and shared with us in your journey. And we're super confident that you'll continue to excel, Coach, wherever you may be assigned. So we wish you the very best. So teammates, once again, let's continue helping out our fellow sports people who were affected not just by the pandemic, but also by the recent typhoons. So once again, we are announcing that Pitch in PH is pitching in to help out. And once again, we're happy to announce that we have a special partnership with Oakland, California-based business Chunky Butt Ice Creamery in a fundraising effort for our friends over at bata.ph who are helping out communities in Marikina who are affected by Typhoon Ulysses. So follow our Facebook page for more details on how you too can learn how. So over to the man of the hour, Coach Jong Uichico. Your final message for this episode, please.
All right, thank you very much again, Robbie, Simone, Relly, and Carlos for inviting me here. I just really hope that we've all learned a little bit of simple things or practical things from my experience. Those are things that I've experienced, so I more or less know what I'm talking about, and it's not based on books or theory, but it's based on things that I've realized all through the years, things that I've gone through all these years. And I just hope that you can make good use, even just a little bit, of what we talked about in today. And again, thank you very much. And enjoy the holidays and be safe. And hopefully I can see you again sometime in the future with Robbie, Simone, Relly, and Carlos again in Gold Diggers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much as well, Coach Jong Uichico. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the sound of the buzzer. Wait, I don't hear any sound of the buzzer. But anyway, once again, my name is Carlos Pineda, and this is Gold Diggers. Remember to dream, dig in, and win. See you next time on our next episode.